Hello. The lack of rainfall will continue to dominate the weather story for the next week or so, but so will the temperatures, and the temperatures are going to be fluctuating quite a bit over the coming week or so. We're starting off with very warm air still sitting across England and Wales, but we have a cold front drifting south, introducing fresher conditions to Scotland and Northern Ireland. And as we go through the next day or so, that cold front will finally brush away all that warmth and humidity, clearing away from the southeast during Thursday, and much cooler air in place across the country on Friday. So temperatures will be much closer to average. In fact, perhaps slightly below across parts of the north into the low 20s rather than the high 20s across the south. And it's not just by day, but by nights that you'll notice that drop in temperatures as well. Much more comfortable, much less humid air in place. So temperatures in the mornings, again, much closer to average and even down to single figures across parts of northern Scotland. So it is turning fresher, at least in the short term, but that area of high pressure is set to build its way in across the UK behind that weather front. This is not a good chart if you're after rainfall, and that high is just ambling in. Yes, this weather front will bring a bit of rain to the northwest on Saturday, but apart from that, this high will continue to bring dry weather through the rest of this week and into the weekend. And with sunny spells by day, the temperatures will start to pick up as we go through the weekend. So the outlook is, yes, turning cooler, fresher, less humid in the short term. Not much rainfall, many places dry with sunny spells through the weekend. But as we go through that weekend, temperatures could just start to rise, and that may well be a trend as we go into next week. Why? Well, because there's not a lot to shift that area of high pressure. This is the jet stream, and it's up to the north of the UK and really staying that way. And the jet stream, of course, pushes low pressure systems up to the north, allowing high pressure to continue to dominate across the UK into next week. Again, that signal that we're not going to see much rainfall at all. Temperature-wise, well, we'll see that rising, the temperatures rising day on day. The orange colours return for Monday, so through the weekend we've gone from that relatively cool start on Friday to much warmer conditions by Monday. Notice, however, the really dark oranges and reds. The real heat is still across Iberia. And it's important to note that even here, the heat is not as extreme as it was back in July. But for the UK, signs of things warming up. Just how warm it gets will depend on the position of that high, because the high pressure is likely to dominate not just the early part of next week, but for most of next week. This is the European computer model run showing the probabilistic pressure trend through next week. There are the dates going forward along the top, the previous model runs down the side. Red is high pressure. There's a lot of red on the chart. So that's a strong signal that high pressure will dominate for most of next week. But the position of the high will be crucial to see just how high the temperatures get. And if we take a look at a couple of computer model runs, then we'll notice there's a bit of discrepancy about the position of the high through next week. This is a chart for next Thursday. The European model has the high pressure well down to the southwest of the UK, whereas the GFS, the American model, has the high still across the UK or sitting perhaps a little further east. Now, neither of those scenarios would really tap into the heat across Iberia, but it's still a possibility that we could import the heat from the south. And even if we don't, day on day, temperatures are likely to be rising thanks to the sunshine and the high pressure squashing the air down and building the temperatures. So we know that temperatures are likely to dip over the next few days. Fresher air is on the way, but then rise next week. How high are those temperatures going to get? Well, these maps show the probability of reaching 30 degrees Celsius. Pretty small chance initially, but that chance increases as we go through next week. The greens and yellows there across parts of the south suggesting perhaps 20 to 40% chance of reaching 30 Celsius across parts of the south next week. So we are expecting temperatures to rise, but this is 30 Celsius, not the 40 Celsius of July. At this stage, the extremes of temperatures are very unlikely, but a hot spell is likely. And it's not just across the south. This shows the probability of temperatures being 4 degrees or more above average. You can see here that across eastern Scotland and parts of Northern Ireland, we are expecting things to warm up. Rainfall amounts? Well, again, looking at the probabilities, it's not good news. Hardly any rain expected across the south Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And even as we go towards the back end of next week, well, there's a hint there, but this is just for 1 millimetre of rainfall. So the probabilities are small, and we're only talking about the chance of a very limited amount of rainfall. So it's not good news if you're after rainfall across parts of the south and east in particular. The dry weather is more likely to continue. Not much rain in the forecast, and yes, we are expected after an initial dip this week to see temperatures rise next week. But the extreme heat, anything like we saw in July, is very unlikely at this stage. We are talking a week or so away, so make sure you stay up to date. This is just the 10-day trend. For the details of the forecast, make sure you're following the Met Office right across social media.